guys, Rascal here, and today I'm really excited to talk about this show. Today, I'm reviewing the 2011 Thundercats reboot! Now, before you ask, I have not seen all of the original 1980s series. I actually started watching some of it, but unfortunately I can only watch so much because of my library. I don't get a library fee, so I ended up just kind of watching most of season 2. But again, it having so many episodes, taking a lot of time, I did not get to finish it. But one day I will finish the entire series. Now, as for this reboot, I think it was incredible. I consider it one of the best reboots, up there with the Voltron Legendary Defender reboot, the DuckTales reboot, and the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated reboot. Now, if you know what Thundercats is about, then you might want to take a step back for here, where it kind of takes that show, but updates it to more of a modern storytelling. While the original show had the Thundercats leave their home planet because it was destroyed, in here, Thundera it's a kingdom? It says, now Third Earth is a planet still, and Thundera is on Third Earth. Rather, it being two separate places is one and the same. Now, I kind of wasn't sure if Thundera was a planet. I think it was a planet in the original, and now in here, it's a kingdom on the planet of Third Earth. So, trying to avoid that confusion. So, in here, they do keep the theme of Mumm-Ra attacking their home and forcing them to leave because he destroyed everything. But in here, it's sort of more like an epic journey, sort of like Lord of the Rings or Narnia, where the original was just they had to flee the planet and they land on a new planet. That's their new home. They still find Mumm-Ra. And here, it actually takes a more interesting turn. Not saying that the original wasn't interesting, but more in the terms of story and updating it, where they're actually on a journey. Now, for in here, without going to every single little thing and being spoiling, going on way too long, in here, Lionel's supposed to get the sort of omens from his father. And they don't know if he's truly ready or not because he has these ideals. Of course, you know what these types of shows, he has the ideals that people don't agree with. Like, he has a big interest in technology, but the Thundercats in here don't believe in technology or they don't think it exists. Which is funny because the original Thundercats, all they had was technology. So I see the little nod there. Lionel's fascinated by it. He wants to know more about it. But his father and the rest of the Thundercats don't believe in it or think it's unnecessary. He's also the, I guess he's the firstborn. He's the firstborn of the king and queen. Because in here, Tigra is actually Lionel's brother instead of his bodyguard, which was an actually pretty cool idea to have. And he kind of goes into his backstory on why they're brothers when you get further in. It's pretty deep for supposed to be a Cartoon Network show. And he's also very open to other species. The Thundercats in here also portrayed as being, I think the term is xenophobic, and they don't like the lizards or the birds or any other species outside of the lions. And it's kind of like, I guess, their pride. They believe they're the higher creatures in their kingdom. But Lionel wants to get along and be allies with the other animals and doesn't believe in harming them just because that they are different creatures. And here they keep in that Mumm-Ra attacks the kingdom and pretty much desolates everything, and he takes all the Thundercats prisoners. So Lionel, Tigra, and Cheetara go on this journey to stop Mumm-Ra. And eventually goes into this sort of Infinity War-like plot, long before Infinity War came out, mind you, where they need to find these stones that that Mumm-Ra has, and for his, I'm going to say, Infinity Gauntlet, because that's what it looks like, and if he gets all the stones, he'll have complete control over the entire universe. Yes, he's basically Thanos of this show, ironically. And along the way, they meet Panthro, of course, and Wily Kit and Wily Cat, and even later they have Mumm-Ra. And the goal is to rescue the rest of the Thundercat citizens and stop Mumm-Ra once and for all before he has a chance to annihilate the universe or rule over it. And the show is really dark. I don't mean bloody violent dark or anything, but just it was heavy on being a story and a plot. and they focus more on the characters being fleshed out rather than just the one-off adventures. And the original Thundercats was fun. It had action and stuff, and it was a really fun show and great to watch. And here, it's more like you're watching a movie. Like, every episode is its own movie on this journey to find the stones. You also find out more about the Thundercats lore, like how the sword was created, who were some of the original Thundercats, a little bit of the history of Mumm-Ra. You even get some backstory on Lionel and Tigra and Cheetara and Wily Kid and Wily Cat, despite them being supposedly just the standard kid characters. Which I found to be pretty interesting, because I know for some people they didn't really care for Snarf or Wily Kid and Wily Cat. Oh, speaking of which, Snarf is in here, but he does not speak at all. He's sort of more like a pet. They try to keep in the part where he was a caretaker of Lionel, like a little bit of a babysitter, but it doesn't really go into too much detail with that, because it's basically condensed into a short. But as for the show itself, I think it's incredible. I think it's really incredible. The animation is freaking amazing, and I think it's just, like I said, one of the best reboots ever made. And granted, I did know about Thundercats back when it came on, but I didn't watch it because these weren't the type of shows I was watching back then. And at the time it came on, not only was it coming on when I would probably be asleep, but it also came on when I didn't understand what the heck Thundercats was, the Symbiotic Titan. This is before I got into more of these action-oriented shows, minus Ben 10. So Thundercats looked kind of boring to me as a little kid. And Mom Entertainment didn't know how the show was, because she watched the original, and the new one kind of looked boring. Which, for some reason, some people actually did end up saying later. I mean, that wasn't the whole reason why it got canceled, but I remember seeing some people say that the show was too boring or too dark because the show was so fun and lighthearted. I watched some of the original episodes. It wasn't that lighthearted, but okay. The show was recommended to me by Bennett Dudley, and he said it was on the same level as Voltron, just being an epic retelling. And I bought the DVD immediately because, heck, I got the whole series. And, wow, I mean, first 2 episodes were incredible, didn't see anything coming, animation was great, I love the voice actors, I love the story, I love the character design, I love Lionel as a character, and everything was just, like, phenomenal. And right now, there's like 26 episodes for the whole series. And originally, it's supposed to be 52 episodes. It's supposed to have 2 seasons. But let's say Disney, sorry. Cartoon Network decided they didn't want to do that because animating Thundercats was too expensive. Now, Thundercats, just like the original, was animated in Japan. So I think it technically counts as an anime. I know it was made for here, but it technically counts just like the original as an anime, which is why the quality animation was so high definition. It doesn't even look like it was made here. So yeah, it ended up getting canceled. They claim because there was a lack of viewing, because of the time of night it came on, or because they were selling enough toys. No, the real reason is because Thundercats was too expensive. They didn't want to keep paying for the high quality animation. It was costing too much, and they didn't want to do it for 2 seasons. So they ended up getting Legends of Chima, which is basically a knockoff version of Thundercats done in Lego style. And because it was much easier to animate and it was produced here, they canceled this in favor of that in order to save costs. Which is a pretty stupid idea if you ask me, because you had a lot of fans watching this. People loved this. And then you get the atrocious Thundercats War, which shouldn't exist ever. Just bring this show back, for God's sake. Anyway, now for the voice actors, I'll go into a little briefly because there's quite a few people in here and stars almost every episode. You have Will Friedle voicing Lionel, which is a pretty epic casting. You have Matthew Mercer as Tigra. I mean, who saw that coming? I mean, if you know him as Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan and some other shows, heck, I mean, this is a big deal too. You have Emmanuel Cherky, I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly, as Cheetara. You have Kevin Michael Richardson, the ever fabulous Kevin Michael Richardson as Panthro. And you actually had 2 kids actually voice Wily Kid and Wily Cat instead of it being 2 adults. Now, unfortunately, I don't know who they are, so I think they were just actually kids. And then, yeah, Robin Atkin Downs as Mumm-Ra, Clancy Brown, D. Bradley Baker, Michael McKean, Pamela Adlon, Jim Cummings. It was just a whole lot of just the... Oh, and you also have the original Larry Kinney, the original Lionel voicing Lionel's father, Claudius, which is just freaking incredible. Now, yeah, there's just so much in here. I wish I could go into even more, but I don't want this review to go on too long. But it's just an incredible show. We do go into more detail on a Paul's Animation podcast, but I just wanted to go into the show again because recently I've been kind of getting back into it and liking the theme and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, why did you get rid of this show? And, one more thing I should mention with the villain Mumm-Ra. Mumm-Ra's purpose in the original show pretty much stays the same with the original and the reboot. However, in here, he takes more action with himself. And what I mean by that is that in the original, he calls on those dark spirits to turn him into the gigantic form of himself, and he's muscly. And usually, he does that like every episode, or his lackeys do things and he doesn't do too much. He tries to defeat Lionel. But in here, most of the time, Mumm-Ra takes charge. He actually doesn't rely on his minions too much, except when it's things that he really can't do by himself. He instead goes directly into battle on his own. He directly fights the Thundercats. He directly wants the stones. He directly puts up a fight, and he doesn't go into his muscle form every single episode. There are even some episodes where he stays in his regular form and he uses his brains. And he was actually more intimidating like this because he was actually a really big threat. He was Zarkon level threat. It was incredible because, like I said, in the original, he just transformed, he fought, that was it. In here, it would take a heck of a while to defeat Mumm-Ra, or you had to have some sunlight, because he's a pretty threatening villain in here. He's not a joke whatsoever, nor is he portrayed as a joke in here, unlike Thundercats Roar. Now, as for favorite episode, I have quite a few favorites, but I guess if I had to narrow it down, I think one of my favorites would be the song of the Peltars, where they had these flower people that had a whole lifespan within 24 hours. It's a really sad but also amazing episode. And another one I think would be Legacy, and the Trials of Lionel Parts 1 and 2. Oh, and Native Son, where we find out Tiger's backstory and what happened to the Tiger people. It's a really great show. I mean, seriously, it's like really good. I cannot believe that Cartoon Network canceled this because of the animation. But seriously, you should see it. The unfortunate part is that it ends on a cliffhanger, and we don't know if we'll ever come back. I personally think Cartoon Network should bring it back because they brought back Samurai Jack to finish its story. And they're having somewhat more action-oriented cartoons on HBO Max. So I think that they should bring it back and put it on HBO Max or Netflix or somewhere. Because seeing that the show is only half over, they really need to come back with it. Heck, I would even love a Thundercats movie. That I would really love that. Symbiotic Titan movie, and I'm gonna love a Thundercats movie, because I think that'd be an epic way to bring back the show, whether just to finish out the story in one movie, or to give it like a big finale, or a standalone adventure like with the anime films. So let me know what you guys thought of Thundercats 2011 in the comments. If you have seen it, let me know if you love it too. Did you have a few little issues in the pacing or something? Just let me know. Because I really don't have that much wrong with the show. I think the one thing I would say it needed improvement on was the shipping. Because it's this love triangle they have with Lionel, Tigra, and Cheetara. And then about to Mumm-Ra, because Lionel, I guess, really wants a girlfriend all of a sudden. I don't really get why. I mean, I mean, that's fine, but seriously, dude, focus on saving your people. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't seen it, please watch it as soon as possible. You will love it. And I will see you guys next time. Later.